units in each bedroom, right? So first, of course, we always have to check out the SOPs. So as far as the cooling system, we need to describe the location of the thermostat for the cooling system, as well as the cooling method. Report any cooling system that did not operate or was not accessible. Okay, we're not required to determine the flow balance, the distribution size, the capacity, BTU supply or supply adequacy of the system. So basically, we do not have to determine if the system is sized right for the house. We also do not have to inspect portable window units, the through wall units. All of those are outside our scope. Here's one area where NHIE and Internashi differ, right? Because these SOPs, right, are coming from Internashi. So they say that you don't have to operate equipment if the temperature is below 65 degrees Fahrenheit. Did anybody catch what the book said was the temperature requirement to test the cooling equipment? That's correct, Jackie. 60 degrees. So you see how there can be slight differences. So for your test, make sure that you answer 60. Even though when you're going through Internashi, you see how that's crazy? For example, Jackie. Jackie has to complete hours. Internashi will satisfy her hours, but then she has to pass the NHIE to become licensed in Illinois. Well, when she's going through her educational hours, Internashi is telling her 65 degrees. But when she reads her book, the book says 60 degrees. And if she doesn't answer 60 degrees on the test, she would have gotten it wrong, even though she went to, see how that works? So you got to be mindful of that. Okay. So those are the SOPs. So essentially all of the different cooling systems are going to work the same. They basically remove the heat from the indoor air and then redistribute it basically outside. Okay, that's what we're doing when we cool air. We're just basically removing the heat from it. The most common air conditioning system is the central AC system, right? And so this system can cool each house in the room because of ductwork that runs through the house. So a central system cools the entire house. Okay. A central system could be set up as a split system, meaning that the evaporator coil is on the inside of the house and the condenser unit, which is what we're looking at here, is on the outside. That's a split system. The evaporator coil, does anybody know where it's located on the inside of the house? No say? It's typically located inside of the furnace on the inside of the house. Okay, so that's a split system. Some central systems are all enclosed in the same cabinet, which this is what this is here, a cabinet. These are called package systems. Okay, so you have your central AC system, which means that it is going to cool the entire house. Okay, a central AC system can be broken down into a split system, which means there's a condenser on the outside and an evaporator coil on the inside that's going to be located inside of the furnace. And then a central system could also be a package system, which means that those components are inside of one cabinet. Okay, what is going to be most common is the central split system. So most often you're going to be inspecting a condenser that's on the outside. Excuse me. And then there's going to be, again, a furnace that will be on the inside that will house the evaporator coil. And really, you will never get an opportunity to see the evaporator coil because it's within the furnace. Okay. What separates the cooling system is how the cooling systems is how they distribute air. So you also have a ductless system, right? So that is separate from the central system because remember, a central system has ductwork. That's how it's able to cool the entire house. In a ductless system, you have a unit that provides cool air for one room. So kind of like a fan almost, right? Ductless unit typically is like a horizontal box that sits up on the wall and it basically just blows out cool air without any ductwork. So again, when you see the term split, that just refers to the fact that there's an outdoor and an indoor component that make up the system. Different from the package system where the heating and cooling equipment are in a single unit. Okay, so now let's look at the components of the split system here. We've got a thermostat, we've got a refrigerant, we've got a condenser, we've got a compressor, we've got a fan, metering device, evaporator coil, blower, filter, and ducts. Okay? We're about to go through these individually, so you don't have to try to write them down. Those are the main parts of this system. Okay? First one we have are the refrigerant lines. Okay? Refrigerant is a liquid substance that basically absorbs heat from the air that's inside the house and then deposits it outside. So refrigerant is traveling back and forth between the condenser that's outside and the evaporator coil that's on the inside, and it's changing state constantly from a liquid to a gas. Okay. Freon was the type of refrigerant that was used in older homes, but now what's the name of it? I want to say it starts with a P. I can't remember, but there's a new type of refrigerant that's being used now because they found that the freon was damaging to the environment. So you just need to know that there's refrigerant traveling back and forth via two pipes. There are two pipes that carry the refrigerant. Anybody read about them? Now this was a short chapter. Y'all should have read this chapter. Nobody read? Nobody knows the lines? $25 to the first person that know the lines, the refrigerant lines. You got 15 seconds. What are they?
Pressure, high pressure.
Who?
Low pressure, high pressure.
All right, that's it. I'm keeping my money. The two lines, the two pipes that carry refrigerant line are the suction line and the liquid line. Okay. The suction line is the pipe from the evaporator coil to the compressor, which is outside inside of the condenser. Okay. So these here are the lines. The black line here, this is insulation around the pipe. This is the suction line. So again, this is coming from the evaporator coil that's on the inside of the house, inside of the furnace, and then it is being, as you can see here, connected to the compressor. The compressor is on the inside of the condenser. Okay, so it is carrying refrigerant that is cool and it's in a gas state. That's the suction line. Okay, and then we have the liquid line. The liquid line is the pipe from the condenser, so this one here, to the evaporator coil. Any guess what this one is carrying?
Refrigerant.
Which is in the, which form? Which state is it in?
Liquid.
Correct. The liquid line carries the liquid refrigerant. The suction line carries the cool gas refrigerant. Okay, so as you can see, these lines should be supported so that there's no crimping, there's no sagging, because again, you have a refrigerant that's traveling through here and you want it to be able to get through without any issues. Okay, the lines, the materials of the pipes that carry the refrigerant are what material? Our favorite plumbing material.
Copper.
Correct. Copper pipes are the material that's carrying our refrigerant. Okay. Next, we have the condenser. So this is the unit or the outside cabinet that contains the compressor, the condenser coils, which are behind these fins here, and then the fan, which is on top. Okay. Typically made of steel. As you can see, there are going to be some requirements about its how far it is above grade and all that kind of stuff, which we'll get into it. But this is the actual condenser unit. So everybody sees this and they just say, this is the AC unit, right? This is if you see one of these, then you know, okay, the house has AC. So if you see one of these, then you know that you have a evaporator coil that's on the inside. Again, the condenser is housing the compressor, the condenser coils, and the fan. So next we have, here is the compressor that is on the inside of the condenser. The compressor is the heart, of the heart of the system. The compressor is going to compress the refrigerant and pump it to the evaporator coils, which are these coils here, right? And it pumps it. The refrigerant is coming in as a cool gas. The compressor increases the temperature, right? So now the refrigerant is flowing through the compressor coils in the form of a hot gas. Okay. So you raise the temperature of the refrigerant as it comes in. That's what the compressor does. And it's located again in the center of the condenser. You will not see this on a regular inspection. This is just a unit that has the fan removed, right? So you won't be able to actually physically view the compressor during your inspection. Okay. So these are the condenser coils. If you remove these fins here, then this is what you would see up under that, the coils. So this is where the refrigerant flows, and this is where the heat exchange happens. Okay. The next thing is the fan. So this is on top. This is if you're looking at the top of the condenser unit. So if we were to take this off, then we would see the compressor in the inside. So the condenser fan is basically removing the warm air from the refrigerant and extracting it outside. If you've ever, I don't know, again, me as a little kid, when I saw these units and the fan was going, I wanted to go over and see. And I could never figure out why whenever I went over there, it was always hot. It's like I thought this was the AC unit. How is it blowing out hot air? Well, that's because that's its job. This job is to take the warm air and extract it and leave it outside so that we can have cool air on the inside. Okay. Next is the evaporator coil. So this is what is actually inside of the furnace that, again, you will probably not get to see. So this is the part that, again, absorbs the heat from the air in your house. And you see here, these coils, they go basically back and forth from the top down here to the bottom. So again, this is located inside the furnace. And is the primary function for your evaporator coil is to absorb the heat that is within your inside air. Okay. Again, the evaporator coil is going to be a network basically of coils or tubes. These ones are made of copper. You can have them made with aluminum as well. Okay. So the refrigerant is going to enter the evaporator coil as a low temperature liquid. Okay. We'll go through that a little bit more here in a second. Next, we have our metering device. The metering device is located right before we hit the evaporator coil. And this job is to basically feed the proper amount of refrigerant to the evaporator coil, and it reduces the temp of the liquid refrigerant. That's your metering device. Okay, any questions on those components? About to put them all together. Okay, I got 10 steps. Right, number 1 on your paper. The first step is, we're going to start right here. Refrigerant enters the compressor via the suction line as a low temperature gas. Refrigerant enters the compressor via the suction line as a low temperature gas. The compressor turns the gas hot before moving it to the condenser coils. Okay, so you need to know that it enters low temp. The compressor increases the temperature. So from the compressor, the refrigerant is now going to move to the condenser coils and is going to be hot. Okay. Number 2, the condenser coils and the fan remove the heat from the gas refrigerant and expel it outside. So you see here where it says warm air, your condenser coils and this fan is removing the heat from the gas refrigerant and blowing it outside, basically. This causes the gas to turn into a liquid. Remember, we said that the refrigerant is constantly changing states. Okay? So that's number 2. Number 3, the liquid refrigerant leaves the condenser via the liquid line, flows inside the home to the metering device. The liquid refrigerant leaves the condenser via the liquid line and flows inside the home to the metering device, which lowers the temperature before flowing through the evaporator coil. So number 3, the liquid refrigerant is leaving the condenser. So we're leaving outside, coming inside via the liquid line. We stop at the metering device, lower the temperature, and then we flow through the evaporator coil. Number 4, the liquid refrigerant is going to flow through the evaporator coil where it absorbs the hot air from the house. So your refrigerant is flowing through these coils here, and it is absorbing hot air from your house. Number 5, the blower activates and air from the house is pulled in via the return air duct. Here. So down, this is inside of the house now. We're in the bottom of the furnace. There's a blower down there that activates, and it acts as like a vacuum and is pulling in all of the hot air from your house via the return duct. It goes through the filter, which is, this is where your filter is here. And then the air is blown across the evaporator coil. So again, number 5 is the blower activates and pulls in air from the house via the return duct. The air is blown over the evaporator coil, and the heat from the air is absorbed by the refrigerant that's in the evaporator coils. Right? Because remember, we got our liquid refrigerant flowing through here. We reduce the temperature, and now we blow our air over the hot air from the house. We blow it over the evaporator coil. The refrigerant absorbs that air, and then that's how we get basically cool air. Once the refrigerant absorbs this hot air, it turns the refrigerant back to a cool gas. Okay? So that's number 5. Number 6, the air passes over the evaporator coil and out the supply duct to the house. So that is the complete process. So now you will have cool air flowing through your house. So when you turn on your AC in your house, this is the process that's going on to bring you to where you have that cool air that's flowing through the house. Okay? That's number 6. Number 7, as the warm air passes the refrigerant in the evaporator coil, it evaporates back into a gas. Does anybody know what that would create?
Is it condensation?
Say again?
Is it condensation?
That's correct. Condensation. So as the warm air passes over the refrigerant, it evaporates back into a gas, which creates condensation. Condensation, aka water, right? Oh, I numbered these wrong. We only have 9 steps. So number 8 is condensation in the evaporator coil drains into the condensate drain line. That's number 8. And number 9 is the refrigerant returns to the condenser to release the heat. We start all over again. So those are 9 steps. I misspoke, not 10. All right, what questions do you have?
What was 8? You said condensation drains into what?
The condensation in the evaporator coil drains into the condensate drain line. Step 2 and step 4. All right, let's blow through it again real quick. All right, your refrigerant is going to enter the compressor via the suction line as a low temperature gas. The compressor increases the temperature, turns the gas hot before moving it to the condenser coils. That's number 1. Step number 1. So right now, the refrigerant is in the compressor. Money on the dresser, job a compressor. Number 2, the condenser coils and the fan remove the heat from the gas and expels it outside. That's step number 2. The condenser coils and the fan remove the heat from the gas refrigerant and expels it outside. This causes what, Coop? You on mute.
What was the question again, sir?
What does that cause? The condenser coils and the fan remove the heat from the gas refrigerant and expel it outside. What happens then? What happens to the refrigerant?
I'm not sure.
Who can help them
I'm
out?
still trying to process.
Causing the gas into a liquid.
That's correct. Turns it into a liquid. So just think. Up until the compressor, we're in a gas state. Okay? This is the coils and the fan are removing the heat from that gas refrigerant and expelling it to the outside. That process turns the refrigerant back into liquid. Because remember now, after this, we basically on our way back out. If we're on our way out, that means we're traveling via the liquid line, which means the refrigerant would be liquid. So after the compressor, you have liquid refrigerant. Remember that. Okay? And then step number 3, the liquid refrigerant is leaving the condenser via the liquid line. And it flows to where, Coop? Did you get that part?
To the meter.
Metering device, correct. What does the metering device do?
Lowers the temperature.
That's correct. That's step number 3. Number 4, the liquid refrigerant is going to flow through the evaporator coil. It's getting ready to basically absorb the hot air, the heat from the air that's inside the house. Okay? So after we got our liquid refrigerant flowing through the evaporator coil, what will we do next, Chris? What are we ready for now?
For the blower to act as a vacuum and pull in the hot air to return to the return duct.
That's correct. So we're ready basically for the hot air now. We've got the liquid refrigerant flowing through the evaporator coil. So now we're ready to remove that heat from the air. So the blower activates, brings in the air from the house via the return duct. It goes through the filter. What is the job of the filter? What does the filter do?
Filtrates any particles in the air.
Thank you. That's it. It just cleans the air. That's all. So your the air is going through the filter before it's blown over the evaporator coil. So that's number 5. Blower activates, pulls in the air via the return air duct, goes through the filter, blown across the evaporator coil, where we have again our liquid refrigerant that is going to absorb the heat that is in that air. Okay? Once the refrigerant absorbs the heat that is in the air, what state is it going to go to? Jackie, what state?
Can you repeat the question? Sorry.
The air was just blown over the evaporator coil. The refrigerant absorbed the heat. It's a liquid refrigerant. It absorbed the heat. What state will the refrigerant be in now? Liquid or gas?
Gas.
Will it be hot or cold?
It's gonna be hot. Mm-hmm.
Cool. It's gonna be a cool gas.
Cool.
Cool
Okay.
gas. So that's step number 5. Okay, that basically is the completion of the cooling process, right? Because step number 6 is just the air again is passing over that evaporator coil and going out after the heat is absorbed from it. So we're basically everybody thinks it's like we're creating new cool air. There's no such thing. We're just taking the same old stale air from inside your house and basically removing the heat from it and blowing it back out. Cleaning it, putting it through the filter, removing the heat from it, and then blowing it back out, and now it's cool. And that's step number 6. That happens via the supply duct. So the air comes in via the return duct, and then it goes out after we've taken the heat out of it, goes back out to the house via the supply duct. And then, I've got to think about, okay, now I completed that process. It's just like combustion, right? So we have combustion and heat it up. As a byproduct of combustion, what's going to happen? Similar, same type of process over here. Number 7, as the refrigerant in that evaporator coil absorbs that heat, again, it evaporates back into the gas, which creates condensation or small drips of water as a byproduct of this process that we're going through to get cool air. Okay, so number 8 is we have our condensation that's in the evaporator coil. Well, where are we going to send it? Because remember, the evaporator coil is inside our furnace. We don't want water dripping inside of there, right? So it has to be connected to a condensate drain line or either the plumbing system to be drained out of the evaporator coil. Okay, and then the refrigerant returns to the condenser. It starts all over. That process is consistently going. We good? Lydia, you good? Coop, you got it now?
Yep, got it.
No más preguntas. None? All right. Well, let's have somebody explain it to me then. Hey, Keys, why don't you go first?
I was about to say
No. Because I asked you. I called you by name.
I know. Real quick. So going back to that last diagram, which line is the condensate drain line?
It's not on here. We're going to look at it in a second.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not on this diagram. All right, Ed Keys, she bought you a couple extra seconds to study. You ready? Explain it to me.
Okay. So refrigerant enters through the compressor via the suction line at a low temp gas. The compressor heats it up before moving it to the condenser coil. The condenser coils remove the heat from the gas refrigerant.
Okay,
and
hold up.
expel it.
I want you to do this without your notes. I don't want you to read to me. So I want you to see if you can remember it without your notes.
Okay.
So you're at the matter of fact, let me go back to this one since this is where we learned it at. You're at the compressor. So you told me that the refrigerant enters the compressor. The compressor via the suction line as a gas. Okay, then what happens?
The compressor turns the hot air.
The compressor does what?
It heats it up.
Okay. And then what happens?
The heat is removed.
Okay. How is the heat removed?
Via the condenser coil.
And what else?
The compressor.
What's on top?
The warm air.
What's on top of the condenser?
The condenser fan.
That's correct. So the coils in the fan are doing what?
Heating it up.
Heating what up? The condenser coils in the fan are there. You said it's heating it up. It's heating what up?
The refrigerant.
Is it? I thought you said the compressor was heating it up.
Okay. Yes, the compressor is what's heating it.
Okay. So what is the condenser coils in the fan doing?
That's just removing the air.
What kind of is the air hotter? The condenser. Okay, so the condenser coils in the fan are removing hot air.
Yes.
From where?
From the suction line.
What's inside the suction line?
Yes.
Refrigerant. So
Okay.
the condenser coils and the fan are removing the heat from the gas refrigerant that has just been heated up by the compressor and expelling it outside. Okay?
Okay.
So again, you bring in the refrigerant. It's a gas, a low temp gas. It hits the compressor, turns up the temperature, turns the gas hot. Okay. Now the hot refrigerant gas is flowing through the condenser coils, and the condenser coils and the fan are removing that heat energy from the gas refrigerant. And that's what's indicated by this warm air right here. That process causes the gas to turn to a liquid.
Okay.
All right. You got it?
Yeah.
Okay, Chris, pick up from there. What happens then? You on mute.
Where the condensation coils, the air passes going out the house via the supply ducts.
Wait, how? What? We not there yet. We still outside.
Oh yeah, where the liquid flows absorbing the hot air from the house.
I don't know. We just left the compressor. What's happening now?
Remove the heat and gas from the refrigerant blowing it outside.
I don't want you to read your notes to me. I want you to explain to me what's going on. If the refrigerant was just in the compressor, Alicia told us that the compressor made the gas hot. It flowed through the condenser coils, and the condenser coils and the fan removed the heat energy, and then the gas turned into a liquid. What happens now?
The liquid leaves via the liquid lines.
Okay.
And then the liquid lines, they flow inside of the home into the meter.
Stop looking at your notes. I see you.
It goes into the meter device.
Swear y'all slick, man. Like, why y'all think y'all get like? Do I look sweet or something? Like, what's up, man? Okay, so the liquid refrigerant goes to the metering device, which does what? Look at the diagram and explain it to me.
The liquid goes into the metering device right here.
Which does what? What does the metering device do?
It lowers the temps via these coils where the arrows are pointing.
Okay, and then what happens?
It absorbs the hot air, It absorbs the warm air from the house.
What absorbs the warm air from the house?
The evap coils.
What's inside of the evaporator coils?
The liquids, the water.
Water?
Or liquid, I'm saying.
What's the liquid called?
Refrigerant.
That's correct. Okay, so explain that to me again, because it got a little choppy there. So after the metering device, you says the metering device lowers the temperature, and so then what do I have going on?
You said the metering device lowers the temperature, and then the refrigerant is going out through the evap coils.
Okay, so I got refrigerant flowing through the evaporator coils, and then what's happening?
The liquid flows through the evap coils and is absorbing the warm air.
The warm air from where?
From the fan right here. I'm looking at the.
Where's the air coming from?
From the house.
That's correct. How does it via the what?
For the evap coil.
That's why you should look at the diagram. It will help you. If you say the blower is right here, and you saying I'm bringing in air from the house, where am I bringing in via what?
The return air.
Thank you. And before it enters and goes in the furnace, what is right here?
The blower fan.
To clean the air.
Oh, hold on, blocking it. The evaporator coils.
What's right here? The return air. Go ahead.
That's the furnace.
Right, but after the air's coming in via the return duct, and in order to clean the air, it goes through what first? Filter.
The air filter.
Goes through the filter.
Gotcha.
Okay. Oops. Hold up 1 second. All right. Octavia, pick up from where he left off and finish his on out.
All right. After it's done, after it's gone through the filter, the evaporator coil is ready to receive that hot air. It goes through that, then it causes condensation.
Wait, hold up. What is it?
And hold up. What is it? the hot air.
Okay, what happens with the hot air?
It filters up the hot. Sorry,
Yeah, yo, the reverb is
I
crazy.
didn't get what you said. The reverb is crazy. Yeah.
So
What is your question?
okay,
I didn't hear you.
so the air comes in via the return duct, goes through the filter. I gotta mute you because I can hear myself. The air comes in the return duct, goes through the filter, The blower is going to blow the air over the evaporator coil, and then what happens?
After that happens, it's going to be cooled by the refrigerants, and it's going to cause condensation, which is going to go down the condensate drain. Then it's going to go back into the line that goes the suction. Wait, no, not this. Yeah, it's going to go back through the line to go back to the compressor. Then it's going to go back to the compressor.
Okay, explain to me how, because you said the air blows over the evaporator coil. Explain to me how, if I got hot air and refrigerant, explain to me, you said something about condensation, but explain to me what actually happens at that point.
I must have broken out because I said that it gets cooled.
How?
It through the refrigerant, through the evaporator coil.
Yeah, how is that happening? How's the cooling taking place? What's the refrigerant doing to cool the air?
It's cooling the air to go back into the house.
How? I got evaporator coil with refrigerant going through it, and I got hot air. What happens?
Is it evaporating?
Before it evaporates. Come on. Help her out. How does this cooling thing take place in the evaporator coil with the liquid refrigerant?
Is it a metering device?
We've already come through the metering device, so you got your refrigerant now in the evaporator coil. She said the air blows over, the hot air blows over. I agree with all of that. I just want to know, how is the cooling actually taking place? What is happening with the refrigerant and the air and all of that, that somehow the air comes out cool?
Condensate? No, not. That's how you get the water. I don't know.
Who knows? Somebody should know.
Are you referring to like
Come on.
the suction line? Like, is that what you're asking? Is that?
No, so we're inside the evaporator coil right now. She said we got liquid refrigerant inside the evaporator coil and we got hot air. I agree with that. Then she said that the cool air is going to be blown out through the supply duct. I agree with that. But I'm lost on, how does the air actually get cool? What is the cooling process? What happens with the refrigerant and the air that the air is cool?
Is it the compressor? Is it the refrigerant?
Hold up. Hold up. One at a time.
Is the compressor?
We on the inside. The compressor is on the outside. Fari, can you give us the answer, please?
The refrigerant absorbs the heat.
Yes. That's how cooling actually takes place.
Okay, so because I didn't say the absorption part. Okay, understood.
Because that's the whole part. Like, that's literally how without the refrigerant absorbing the heat from the warm air, you have no cooling. So when we talk, how does the cooling take place? What happens with the refrigerant and the air? Well, the refrigerant is absorbing the hot air, the heat energy from the air. And that's how it's able to then blow through the supply duct as cool air. Okay? Doesn't it turn back into a gas? At what point, Tyler?
I'm kind of lost. So when the refrigerant absorbs the heat, what step would that be in this whole process?
That is number 4. The liquid refrigerant flows through the evaporator coil where it will absorb hot air from the home.
Okay, then that's my mistake. I'm thinking we on like step 7 or something.
No, y'all kept saying condensation. That happened. The condensation part is at the very end. So the condensation is happening as kind of like simultaneous as it's absorbing the heat energy from the air. That is what causes the condensation.
No, that make a whole lot more sense now when you say simultaneously, because I mean, what else is gonna happen to it? All right.
Yeah. So that's why I want you to make sure you understand the actual cooling part of this. So again, the refrigerant is doing all of the heavy lifting. Just because the air blows over the evaporator coil, without that refrigerant absorbing the heat, you have no cool air. And because the refrigerant is absorbing that heat energy, it will cause condensation. Just like how combustion causes exhaust gases, it's the same concept. And because it's water, we have to have somewhere for it to drain to. Enter condensate drain line. Okay? Questions? Comments? We got it? You need to know this. So if we need to go over it another time, another 2 times, we got to know this for sure, 1000%. Let me do this. Let's check out a little video that may help to bring this into a little bit more perspective for you.
How air conditioning works. There are 8 main components that play a pivotal role in cooling your home: a thermostat, condenser,